I'm gonna try to pull up a picture of you jumping over a defensive back. I might have to use AI for that one though.
Well, you forget I was Asian? My God. Okay.
I'll tell you, Steve. It's funny
Hey,
because
hold
I
on.
said
The best
earlier.
athlete in the world right now is Asian. Come on.
Who?
He's right next to you, Shohei Ohtani. He's the best athlete on planet Earth right now.
To quote John Kruk, I'm not an athlete. I'm a baseball player.
John Krug didn't throw 100, run a 4.5, steal 50 bases,
true.
and hit it 500 feet, man. Come on. I guess Koreans and Japanese. I don't know. You guys beef sometimes. I guess I've learned.
We have a checkered history. We've put it past us. But yeah, it's no longer the 40s, thankfully.
Well, you can claim Kyler Murray. That's pretty good. On the Korean side, Brevin Jordan. You got a few guys. Jordan, yeah. You got a few guys.
Steve, I was saying that it's funny that we had Amon on the same show as you because we were talking about the Notre Dame game in South Bend that we went to. We drove over from Chicago together, and then we went over to Portillo's after. That was the highlight of the night. We were watching USC was playing someone that night. We were watching it on your phone. I forget what game that was.
The big story was the Cubs were in the World Series.
Yes.
And the whole city was kind of buzzing. Now, here's a funny story about that. I remember going to that game. Now, we all drove, and Brad Kaya Sr. Rented a big SUV. So it was your father, yourself, Pete. It was my other friend, my buddy Hugo, that's been to a lot of games with me. And I think another one of Brad's friends. That ride home to Chicago, I was in a bad mood. Bad mood.
I think we all were. It was one too many road game losses in a row, man.
Well, but not only that. I mean, we start the game off in the I formation, and if I'm not mistaken, we come out in the I, and I'm thinking, okay, we're in 1990. That's nice. I think we ran 3 straight running plays, and we lost 3 yards on each play, and I'm thinking, hey, Rick, you're playing Atari 2600. Everyone else is doing PlayStation. Can we get up to at least Sega Genesis? And we went through a stretch of that year, 2016, with that old antiquated offense that he ran. We went a whole month without scoring 28 offensive points, or I think 21 offensive points. And then I remember on the ride home or on the flight back with Brad Kaya Sr., I said, Brad, I'm so disappointed. I thought we were getting the Rick fast break at FSU. Shotgun, up-tempo, and just kind of spread it out, shallow cross concepts, back out, so you always have an outlet. That very next week, the game, we scored like almost 50 points or more on Pitt running the FSU fast break. And literally after the game, Brad Sr. calls me and goes, Steve, where's this been? And I go, it's the same question. And if you go back to that bowl game, if you go back to the first quarter and a half and Rick is running this 1985 offense,
Steve, you got some beef here. You got the fullback beefing with you here. If you check out the comment, look who's in disagreement with you. Pops Williams. He says chill out on I formation.
And with all due respect, when we were 5-0 and starting with that Florida State game, we kept scoring less than 20 points offensively. And all I know is in the bowl game, as soon as we went shotgun spread with a little bit of tempo, then Amon took that RPO and he housed it for about a quarter and a half, 2 quarters. I said, that's the offense. If we run that offense, we're 11-2 that year. And I really believe the way that offense was structured and handled had a lot to do with Brad Kaya leaving. I still hear heat about why did Brad Kaya leave us? Now, I'm biased. I'm a big Brad Kaya guy. I will defend him to the death. My view is, why didn't Rick do more to keep him? I'll just leave it at that.
Well, hold up. I got to go back to this because I was going to say the same thing before Marquez said it. We talk about the I formation. First of all, you got an NFL player. A lot of times you want to get those guys on the field. Marquez, being drafted, I believe, 6th, 7th round. So that's part of it. But the funny thing is that if you look now at the NFL, what's old is new again. You're talking about 1985. Then you look at San Francisco 49ers, Shanahan. He's pretty well respected for what he does offensively. Mike McDaniel, the Mr. Wonder Boy. Everybody says he's an offensive kind of guy. We use the fullback with Alec Ingold more than just about anybody. Baltimore, who I believe is either number 1 or number 2 offense every single year, they are using the fullback. So it's kind of like it's coming back. And I say this because, first of all, Marquez, man, you were ahead of your time. You were in the middle of it, right? But, obviously now is a bigger time for the fullback. But when I look at Elijah Lofton, when I look at Mark Fletcher, and these guys are not fullbacks as far as like, hey, this is the only position you could play as fullback, but they can do fullback things and then other things as well, which makes me think, man, I kind of want these guys maybe to do some more I formation after all this.
Danny, you go back to the 90s run of Florida State when Mark Richt and Brad Scott ran that offense. They had a fullback. They had William Floyd. They had Pooh Bear Williams. It's not just about a position. It is about tempo and concept. And I've talked to people that actually played pro ball that looked at our all-22 under Richt, and they said, Steve, I'm not going to say too much. They were unimpressed by our route concepts. Okay. And people say, well, Brad had no mobility. And I said, you're right. I've never said he was Mike Vick, but all I know is this. Chris Wenke didn't have a lot of mobility. Danny Cannell didn't have a lot of mobility, but they ran a fast break. You can run up-tempo and a spread, and with Brad's ability to have a football IQ and check out of plays, you talk to anyone that played with Brad Kaya like Amon, you know one thing they'll say about Brad? He's a football genius. He's one of the most maligned players for some reason, and I have a theory. I'm not going to get into it, but I don't understand why, but the defense kept letting him down. We kept getting extra points blocked when we tied the game against Florida State. And we run this most antiquated offense I've ever seen. And I used to ask Austin Pennifer, one of the great friends of CanesInSight. I'd be talking to him. I'd say, Austin, with the heat and humidity of Miami and the athletes we have, what do you think we would do in an Art Briles type of system with tempo? He said, Steve, we'd kill people. We'd literally kill people. We'd give them cardiac arrest on the field. I feel now with Shannon Dawson, we are finally in the modern era. Thanks to Rhett Lashley. He had a lot to do with it. We're finally now in the modern era of offensive football, because you go all the way back to Kenny Kelly. He should have been in a shotgun spread. He was never going to be a pro-style quarterback, especially after that comeback at Boston College, down 28-0 with about 18 minutes to go in that game. Then Brock Berlin, the 2003 comeback against Florida. Brock Berlin throughout high school never took a snap under center at Evangel Prep. The death of the program was this insistence on staying under center with the pro set offense. All due respect to Marquez, you were a talented guy, but the results are the results, and we're in a results-based world.
So let's talk about, obviously I agree with you on Kaya, by the way. I think, all-time leading passer, did it from his freshman year, didn't even have a spring, really talented guy. But, fast forward here and now. I've talked about Carson Beck as probably somebody who I think he's more just physically gifted than Kaya, just more twitch in his body, just more, just a little more athleticism there. But in terms of the way he plays, he's probably the most similar to Kaya as far as some of the more recent quarterbacks that we've had. So just focusing on Carson Beck, Steve, because I know you've done work on him. Now that arm works, I know you talked to people at practice. I know myself, but others, a lot of people that are out there seeing it. So you think you've been put at ease that the arm you see on the film in Georgia is the same arm you're seeing there in Greentree. So knowing all this, what are some of your expectations for Carson Beck?
To be a top 5 quarterback, he could actually have the same baseline numbers across the board as he did last year when he was one of the worst quarterbacks ever, according to national pundits. One thing, just cut down the interceptions. He had 12 last year. You got to be closer to 5 or 6. If every other number is the same, from the 3,400 yards to the nearly 30 touchdowns, percentage of completion was right around mid-60s. That's where you want to be. In studying his games, especially the ones that he struggled, there was really couple moments. The Ole Miss game, he struggled a little bit. Alabama, the first 2.5 quarters. And then certainly the Florida game, where he got himself into trouble. And again, his receivers were not very good. They did not help him a lot. But when he started to really put the ball in danger was in intermediate routes where he had to layer the ball in between defenders. Now, there are times he looked great doing it. My theory is if you give him a better running game and you do some stuff under play action, which he can do, and you run a hard play action out of an I formation or a single setback, right? Those throwing windows if you run the ball well enough, are going to be much bigger. The other thing is the Georgia offensive line, I thought, was a little bit below average. The run game was below average, had a lot of injuries there. And this is where the logo on the helmet, I think, influences a lot of pundits. They believe just because they have that G on that helmet, that Carson Beck played with more talent last year than he will this year. I would respectfully disagree with that.
The offensive line's one that's interesting to me because I think most agree that Georgia's offensive line was not very good last year. Certainly they didn't run the ball very well. And just in Georgia fans, people around there, everybody acknowledges the offensive line was a huge disappointment. So Beck's saying when UM coaches say that Beck was getting knocked around, I don't think that people in Georgia would disagree. But here's what's interesting. I went back and looked. So in terms of sack percentage, which is basically the percentage of dropbacks that you get sacked, and I use team rankings, it's only against FBS opponents. Georgia, he only got sacked 4.8% of the time last year, which is pretty good. That's 37th in the country. Miami was 31st. And I think that's deceptive because Cam Ward held it so long. But like a team like Notre Dame, we talk about their offensive line all the time. They were 51st. And the point I'm trying to make is Beck's release is so quick and his mind is so quick that I think if you put him behind this kind of offensive line, if I'm making a prediction, I'll do it right now, and I believe this, I think Miami is going to be top 10% in sack percentage allowed with Beck behind this offensive line. He's going to get rid of it, and they're going to block their butts off.
Yeah, Danny, the way I look at it, if you were to say the quarterback is the point guard, well, Cam Ward last year was like Isaiah Thomas, very creative. You had to let him freestyle. You had to let him riff. You had to let him have the ability to play off schedule and to extend plays because he's a very, very creative quarterback with magnificent arm talent. Carson Beck, more or less, is going to be John Stockton. You can win with both. Beck will do, I wouldn't say a better job, but he'll do a more consistent job of playing within structure and coloring within the lines. And the most underrated thing about Beck, if you watch his game, he has better straight line speed than Cam, I think. He doesn't have the wiggle. He's not going to extend plays beyond the line of scrimmage. But I believe 2, 3, 4 times a game. Now, you're not going to want to do any +1 concepts with him. He's too dangerous. I don't want to take that risk. But his legs and his feet will extend drives just by picking up 6 to 8 yards on 3rd and 4.
By the way, some breaking news from the chat that Andres Borregales was won the kicking job in the Patriots, which was not a given. He didn't have the best preseason relative to his draft mode.
Boy, we're gonna miss him. That's a concern of mine, guys. Our kicking game.
I mean, look, I'll say this, Steven, and D, has more info on this.
I'll be right back.
But yes, could it be coach speak? It could be. Mario has said a couple times this week that he's confident in the kicking game, and here's the thing, Steve, as you know, like these guys can make all the kicks in practice. And then once the lights are on, like we can't predict that. But from what I understand, there was one scrimmage, I think, where both of them missed kicks. But like for the most part, these guys had, it seems like a really good fall camp. So like, what else is he going to do other than be confident in it right now? You're not going to know until those lights come on. I think that Davis has a bigger leg. Auburn has been there before. Obviously coming off a bad year. If you feel like he's regained that confidence, I think you have to go with him just because he's been there more. But this is data driven, man. This is based on what the numbers are from practice for the most part.
I have a feeling, Peter, that this year, if the kicking game goes south, and it's really unfortunate that the Borregaleses have no more sons coming through the pipeline because they have absolutely spoiled us. But if it's shaky, and this is a worst-case scenario, I get the sense, and this happened a little bit last year, Mario will not hesitate to go for it on 4th down with that offensive line and run game. So you got to do like the Philadelphia Eagles. If you're inside the 40 going into the opposing end zone, when you start thinking 3rd and 3, you're thinking, oh, that's 2 downs to get 3 yards.
I'm with it. I mean, I like that aggressive nature. I think that's you've built a team that you should be able to do that against most teams with ease. And against a team like Notre Dame, you want to continue that momentum.
Gotta control the
when
ball.
you're driving in. Yeah, exactly.
But
So,
Peter, can I tell you something? In all my years interviewing fighters and trainers before a fight, you know what they've never told me? Oh God, we've had a terrible camp. Terrible
I
camp.
agree.
Getting beat up in sparring. Guy doesn't want to train, and I have no motivation. My baby mama's calling me, and my wife's upset. I got to make
Worst shape of my life.
Right. They've never said that, and I've never seen a coach say in preseason camp. Yeah, I want to make an announcement about the kicking game. We're holding open tryouts. As someone come to the soffer, and please bring your soccer cleats. We're in trouble. Carlos Huerta ain't walking through that door. But overall, guys, look, last year, Borregales and then Dylan Joyce, I thought were very good duo. But overall, the special teams, I thought was poor. I don't expect this to be Beamer ball. But a couple nights ago, I'm rewatching the Louisville game. And the
same thing happened to me. We were watching the same replay then because I know you're about to say.
I mean, and this is one of my themes of this year. We have to be, I want this to be, last year I called, my theme was Air Cristobal because I felt with Cam Ward, that's what we had to be, Air Cristobal. This year we have to be complementary Cristobal. All three sides of football have to be tied in much better than it was last season. Go back to the Louisville game, opening drive. We grind it out. We go up by 14. And I'm thinking we have all control here. We can now run downhill. Exactly. What do? We give up a kick return for a touchdown. Game unravels for about 5 minutes, right? Later in that game, I believe it was the third quarter, we also give up a fake punt. And I remember watching this game with Sean King, the former quarterback. We're at Coach JB's house. And you should ask him. I remember before that punt, I said, we got to look out for a fake punt here because we can't stop them and they can't stop us. Your whole defense or special teams has to be cognizant of the fact we have a very poor return game, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to make them kick it. We give up a fake punt for a first down. Go back to the Wake Forest game. Mish Powell, pick 6. We're up 17-7, up by 2 scores. And I'm thinking, okay, time to come downhill. What do? Damon Claiborne houses it. At that moment, if I'm Cristobal, I make a mental note. Whoever my special teams coach is, he's the first guy I meet with. We were not a sound team structurally in a lot of ways last year, fellas. That's the truth.
So there's a couple comments in the chat I agree with, which was that Andy was not great at kickoffs. Gio, I believe this is Gio, saying the same thing. And that's true. I mean, best kicker, in my opinion, in Miami history. All respect to Carlos Huerta. I mean, I think Borregales was just a better talent, better player. But one of the weaknesses I would say was he wasn't the biggest guy in the world. So over the course of the year, I think his kickoffs really got pretty weak. I know we brought in Carter Davis for touchbacks and kickoffs in general, which I think was a big move. He's going to really help in that area. Again, potentially could win the field goal job. That battle's still ongoing. I honestly don't know who has been named the kicker, but I know that Carter Davis has made a lot of kicks in camp, and that pure leg strength and talent's starting to manifest as a kicker. But I think in general, the kicking part of it, the touchbacks, the kickoffs, I think that could be improved, which will help the whole coverage unit.
And I think you said it, D. That's my last thought on. I agree what we're talking about in kickoff coverage and also return game. But my thing is, and I'll leave it at this, is that like I think these guys are both physically capable. Like there's been years pre-Borregales where I don't care what the ratings were, but these guys were not good the second they stepped on campus. Like they were missing kicks in practice left and right. So that hasn't been the case here. These guys can do it mentally when the lights come on. Let's see what happens now. But I can't make any guarantees there, right? But
I hope this is not an omen, but the last couple of weeks, the SEC network's been replaying a lot of the games from last year. I happened to watch the Oklahoma-Texas game at the end of the first half. Burt War Eagle missed a couple of field goals. And then in the SEC title game, they showed that a couple. Yeah, War Eagle. He got the yips. Look, he was a solid kicker in 23.
All Big 12.
He was. And this thing can be so mental, but also in terms of the special teams, since we got Keelan Marion, and he's an All-American level guy, I've seen the list, we have to give him more help. I know a lot of people are critical of Ray Joseph, but if you watch our return games, we don't set up things very well. We really don't. Every other kick's a penalty where it costs us 15 yards. I really hope that special teams was a greater emphasis in this training camp.
So, Steve, I have to ask you this. So, listen, even though you're shredded and jacked, you do have some more gray hairs than Pete and I. So, this rivalry,
not far behind, man. My camera's not good enough, but I've had gray hair since I was 12 years old, man.
But you experienced this rivalry. Like, we watch documentaries, right? I know my Notre Dame rivalry experience has really been the recent games. I don't believe like we didn't play him in 91, like 92, 93. So like that was like when I had heard it was a big rivalry. I saw the shirts in all Canes. At that time, I think it was called All Sports. Like about the rivalries, I knew it was a big deal as a kid, but it wasn't like we were playing them a lot. You experienced those maybe either as a fan or over here. Like you experienced those more firsthand. So take me through your perspective of the Miami-Notre Dame rivalry.
Well, it's funny. They played for years, but it did not become a rivalry or thing anyone cared about till 85, the 58-7. And that's when Jerry Faust had actually resigned the week of the game. And then Jimmy gave that famous speech, which, by the way, he had given that speech before, the pour it on. You get on top. Don't let them up. Play with style. Play with class. Pour it on them. I mean, Jimmy was the best. But anyway, so when it became 58-7, that became a thing, and Miami had actually played them in '84 in Jimmy's first year at South Bend.
By the way, let me cut you off because I was just watching the Dallas Cowboys documentary. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
awesome, incredible. But that beating was so bad that in the Dallas Cowboys documentary they showed the 58-7 Miami-Notre Dame.
The episode 1, really half of it is about Jimmy's time at Miami and Michael Irvin. There's some great footage, and by the way, for any Michael Irvin fans, episode 7. I'll just say it's a must watch.
I'm sorry. I have to do this. This is fresh on my mind, and you're the person I was about to call you on the phone to talk about this. So I got you here, so I want to talk about this. Yeah. Before, I know you have a lot to say on this Notre Dame thing. I'm derailing it, but I just have to ask. I had the thought watching the game, the Michael Irvin thing, just seeing how much juice he had, seeing how dominant he was with the ball in the air, the physicality, just the whole package he brought. And I said, if I could have one guy on the Miami Hurricanes, not just this year, but really the past 10 years.
Every year.
Michael Irvin, people are going to say like one of these great running backs, Jerome Brown would probably be my number 2 or my number 1B. But like Ray Lewis might say, Sean Taylor, Ed Reed, there's a million Hall of Famers you could choose from. But the total package of it, I might say I want Michael Irvin on this team more than any other former Cane.
I really believe that Michael Irvin and Jimmy Johnson in the 80s, post-Schnellenberger, who is the godfather of the program, they created more national fans of the U, or Subway alum as they call them, than any two people. Just that whole image, the whole Miami Vice, the Renegade Canes. And Michael Irvin, to me, when people leave him off like when they say the starting UM team and they put like Andre Johnson and someone else, I always say that's not a Miami team I take seriously. It has to be Michael Jerome Irvin or Eddie Brown. Those are my all-time 2 receivers. But Michael Irvin, it was been described by a lot of Cowboys. It's been written in books. They say he was the most important guy emotionally in that Cowboys dynasty. More than Emmitt Smith, more than Troy Aikman. They said he was the one guy that was the absolute lightning rod. And Michael was a part of that 85 team. So, Danny, they didn't actually play in 86. That was Lou Holtz's first year. So then 87, Notre Dame was good. They were like 8-1, 9-1. They come into the Orange Bowl, and they had the shirts that said, "Wake up the Echoes. We want revenge." Miami spanked them 24-0. And then came the 88 game, the Catholics versus convicts. And that's when it became a national story. And I want to show you guys something. There's been books about this rivalry. That's when it's been big. Ooh. And I actually helped the author of this book get a few of our players, because I did some interviews back on Grassy, and he kind of contacted me saying, "Steve, I really like your stories. Any way I can get in contact with these guys?" And I helped set it up. I'm actually quoted in this book, by the way. It was nice enough to do that. And I'm probably going to read this on my flight back. This is how big the 88 and 89 games are. That not only did the winner of that game basically launch their way to the national title, each year it made the cover of Sports Illustrated when it was the most important cover in sports. There was no such thing as going viral back then. But winning this game meant that much. And then in 1990, they decided, actually before that, the rivalry had gotten so heated and nasty and ugly, both sides said, "We got to cut it out." I think that both administrations did not look like where it was headed. Personally, I loved it as a fan that was 3,000 miles away. But from 85 to 90, it was the most important rivalry nationally in college football. And to be honest, now it's just a big game. It's really not a rivalry, Pete, because when we went to South Bend in 2016, I was actually disappointed by how nice everyone was. It was actually kind of disappointing.
It's just, there's not. I'm wondering if maybe Notre Dame fans who were here last time, who have really probably horrible memories in their head of the last time here, they probably have some animosity. I don't know, Steve. I'm seeing we're getting a lot of comments on the show the last few days from Notre Dame fans. There's a lot of animosity, I think, from Notre Dame fans this time around because of what happened last time at Hard Rock. That's the vibe I'm getting.
Expectations. Peter,
Yeah.
They were the national championship runner-up, and I think Marcus Freeman has certainly steadied himself. Like, he was in some trouble after Northern Illinois, but he has shown that he's going to be a very good coach, and he's going to have that job as long as he wants. And they want to make a playoff championship run, as do we. Now it's a top 10 game. If you go back to 2017, guys, it is one of the most special nights of my life as a sports fan. Just the energy of the tailgate. And I decided to go to that game the week before. I'm watching Virginia Tech. I'm at Barney's Beanery. Now, they do a University of Miami game watch every week. And the Alumni Association's actually involved, and a lot of other fans like myself going. I'm actually with Canes Are Able from CanesInSight, one of our great posters.
My guy Spencer.
I'm with him, Brad Kaya, and a couple other friends. And as we're pulling away from Virginia Tech, I could just feel the energy of Hard Rock. And I said to the guys, guys, I might be drunk here, but I feel like I should be at that game. They're like, wait a minute, what do you mean? You know what? When I get home, I'm going to book a flight. They said, you are? I said, yes. I booked a flight. I was able to get one. Left on a Friday night. Got there around 2:30 after a layover in D.C. I met Austin at the Big Cheese, had a dinner, and then I went to the tailgate, and I was actually on a plane back to L.A. by 6 a.m. Sunday. One of the greatest decisions I've ever made. And I just want to tell Miami fans out there, every man, woman, and child, come Sunday night at 7:30, if you can, you need to have your butts in those seats at the Hard Rock. We need you. They need you. I need you.
Let me ask you, Steve, how long we got you? Because
another 15 minutes.
All right, well, get your plugs in now. We're going to keep going. We got almost 2,000 on here. So get your plugs in, then we'll go right back to it.
Well, I'm on with Jason Whitlock, Fearless, 3, 4, 5 days a week. Then Coach JB show, which I'm going to be on in about 15 minutes.
I love that. I love the Coach JB show, man. I love the Coach
I got to get him to a
show.
game one day.
What does he think? What does he think about the Canes this year, Steve? Sorry for cutting off in the middle of the thing, but I always get the Coach JB clips. What does he think about the Canes this year?
He likes the Canes. He likes Miami. He respects Cristobal. He thinks he's a real solid, serious football coach. That's what he likes about him.
They were we used to be such a joke in these big games. Now, regardless of all the errors, and there are a lot you could talk about. I mean, one thing you can't say is that we're like not a real team. Like if these big games, it's not like Notre Dame sitting here saying like, "Oh, these guys are a joke. We're going to steamroll them like they've done in the past." Like they know.
2012.
Right. Like we used to be such a non-factor.
I'm telling you, like D and Steve, I've said this comment before, but when I was really heavily in the agent business and I was talking to scouts multiple times a week about, hey, you go through Miami this week, who'd you see? What do you think? And like, I would just always get these comments. This is really Manny. It's like, man, it's not a serious program. Like, and I didn't really understood what that meant because I'm a Canes fan and I like had been so close to it. And this was still like coming off of Rick, you had some hope. And it's just like, there was a lot of things that weren't being run seriously. I think the locker room culture was so messed up, man. Yeah. It was not where it needed to be by any stretch. And Mario just cleaned so much stuff up, and he gets credit for it. But I think we focus so much. I say we, but the fans focus so much on certain decisions that have been made game day wise. But as a whole, man, there's a lot of stuff that he's gotten right. This is such a big year
for Mario, guys. I want this to work so bad for him, and I'll tell you why. He has a passion. He loves the school. And unfortunately, one thing Miami's never had is our version of Joe Pa or Bear Bryant or Bobby Bowden, a guy that looks at this as a 20 to 25-year destination job where he rides off into the sunset. Unfortunately, Schnellenberger made a bad decision to go with the USFL. Jimmy was a natural-born nomad. Dennis Erickson, he got out of town running before probation, and the pressure got to him. Butch Davis made the worst mistake of any college coach the last 30 years. He sticks around at Miami. There is no Nick Saban. There is no Pete Carroll. I'll live on that forever. And I think he regrets it because I know he tried to come back. He had burned too many bridges. Mario Cristobal is the one guy that looks at Miami as the greatest job in the world. I know how much this means to him and talking to people. But there is a pressure because for the first time, and Peter and Danny, you guys know this, we had an administration up top that did not either care about football or did not like it. And you have to understand, in modern day college sports, football is not an option. It's a requirement. It's not just an extracurricular activity. And if there's not the alignment from the school president on down that, hey, football matters and it's important and we're going to invest in it, you cannot survive. What Miami did in the 80s is the greatest anomaly in college football history. And to quote something that was from the University of Oklahoma, to paraphrase it, we had a school that embarrassed our football program, and it was a shame.
So I think this is Gio saying, I spoke to Butch at the spring game. He's really high in this year's teams. That's a good sign. Let me ask you this. This is a totally off topic, but I was listening to Gary Furman on our guy Miami Flo's show on Sunday. Shout out to Flo and this whole team. And he was saying that Mike Leach called him for like when Mike Leach was a candidate in 2007 and talked to him for like an hour, basically why he should have the job. So I think of that because you're talking about guys who would have stayed here, forever and destination kind of deal. And I'm thinking about Leach. Obviously, that story from Furman jumps out. Famously, the president called Shalala, and it was the president then, and said that, Leach wanted the job and kind of like wrote her a letter taunting her when Shannon didn't work out. Like, so clearly this guy wanted the job pretty bad when he's been here for a while. So like, do you think Leach would have worked as a kind of one of those long-term guys?
Well, as you guys talk about, he would have raised the floor. He would have consistently won 8 to 10 games, if not more. Now, the lack of a running game would worry me a little bit because generally no one that went full-blown spread to that degree has ever really run it. Everyone runs a version of a power spread now, right? But would he have made Miami a more consistent ACC contender, and we wouldn't have had as many bad years? I mean, think about it. This guy had Texas Tech at number 2 for about a week or two in 2008. I thought he had Mississippi State on the highest track they could ever be in modern college day football. So, I think Leach would have at least raised the floor.
All right, so you got 5 minutes left with you. We got 2,000 on, man. This thing is on fire. People know Steve and Ahmad are on the show. Things kick up a notch. So real quick, this game, we were talking about every other game. This game right here, how it match up. What are you looking for in terms of Miami 2025 versus Notre Dame 2025?
Well, it's very simple. We got to win first down. Whoever wins first down is going to win this game. A down and distance is, I think, so key in a game like this because this is going to be a trench battle. And look, we know what they're going to do. They're going to man up and tell our young wide receivers, can you get open against our really good cornerbacks? And the guy that we have not talked about yet, and is probably my favorite player, is Elijah Lofton. Elijah Lofton is the circuit breaker because you can deploy him in many ways and get him the football in between wide receivers. And just little things like the Texas route or the fullback into the flat. You can line up old school plays and get him the ball to move the chains. Defensively, we know what Heatherman's going to do. He's going to load the box, and you got to make teams play left-handed, which means get to 3rd and 8 consistently so that CJ Carr is more of a factor than Jeremiah Love. So winning on first down is going to be absolutely key. And I'm excited by Heatherman. The word is that he simplified things, and our guys are going to play faster. We have the body types. Guys, I really believe this. I'm not saying that it's national championship or bust. I think that's a little unfair. But in year 4 of Cristobal, given the resources that he now works with, unlike other coaches, there is a pressure to go into the postseason and to play at least into early January. And it reminds me of the Bullies of Baltimore, one of the recent really good 30 for 30s on the 2000 Ravens. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but near the end of the year, Brian Billick would not let any of his players say this one word, playoffs. Everyone was banned from saying playoffs. It became a national story, right? And so people would try to bait him, and the players would say, I don't know what you're talking about. So they finally beat the Chargers, and they qualify for the first time in franchise history. Billick gets up in front of the locker room. Everyone's around. He goes, okay, guys, time for the elephant in the room. Playoffs. We are in the playoffs. We can say it. It's time to make a Super Bowl run. He goes, the players and the pieces are all in place right here. There's no other way around it. Let's ready to make a run. My view is this. Let's get to the playoffs. You get to the playoffs, guys. I believe you are moving this thing forward, and the trajectory of the program is at the right pace.
Yeah, it's that 2000 team. Yeah, Dwayne Starks on that 2000
Yes, he was.
It's funny. So Dwayne Starks and Samari Roll actually went to the same elementary school as my son, which is like literally a minute walk from my house, which is North Beach Elementary. So shout out to North Beach Elementary.
And by the way, some guy named Ray Lewis was also on that team. He was kind of good too. He was kind of important to the 2000 Ravens.
Best defense in history. I don't know how. I mean, I know the Bears. I wasn't, really. I was a baby when that happened, so I can't say like to like, but statistically and knowing how bad that team was on offense, aside from Jamal Lewis, I think you got to give those guys the best defense in the history of the game, led by, of course, Ray Lewis. So real quick, Steve, 3 minutes left. What are you watching in this game as far as like this is going to determine whether we win or lose?
Can we stop Jeremiah Love on first down? Is it going to be 2nd and 3 consistently or 2nd and 8? We win that. I'm just telling you, that's the game within the game right there. Because I actually like this secondary. I know that we've never seen them, but you look at the body types, the athleticism. Last year's secondary was about as uncoordinated and unathletic with low football IQ as I've ever seen.
Other than that, they were fantastic.
Yeah, other than that, they were good. It's that old line from Shogun. Hey, outside of that, I thought it ran great. So I look at this and I'm thinking, Heatherman is going to bring an aura of seriousness. And I think Mario knows what he has. I also think we're going to play more complementary football, which means leaning on the running game where we may score 4 to 7 less points. And it's going to help the defense out because you guys talk about it a lot. I wish we had one more big body. But guys, guess what? Cortez Kennedy ain't walking through that door. So how do you mitigate not having as many big bodies as you want? You keep them off the field. That is a form of complementary football.
P, anything for Steve before we get him out of here?
No, man. I just always enjoy it. Sometimes I get caught in a trance, man. I'm just sitting back here. I knew one day,
Peter, I knew one day all this useless information would really pay off for me. And I'm glad after 30 years it has. All those years of getting Cane Sport from LA, this is the payoff right here. This is where it's tenfold right here, fellas.
The most requested, I got to say, the most requested, the people I get the most text about to get on the show would be you and that girl who does the On3 Twitter videos.
You know what? I'll be honest. I'd rather see her than me. I'm not going to lie to you, fellas. I'm with you. I'd rather see her than me, too. So, no disagreement. By the way, guys, I'm flying in Thursday night. Hope to see you on Friday and Saturday, certainly Sunday. And look, I took a leap of faith. I just booked my flight for the Florida game. So, I can't wait.
Let's go. Hit me up. I'll be around.
So, guys, I'll give you guys a call or a text when I get in.
Let's do it.
Hey, maybe the legendary Duffy's one of these evenings.
No, we got to go to Duffy's. Let's do that for sure. Clear up that table. I love those live remotes you guys do. Now they're taking credit cards.
They're taking credit cards.
New TVs. We got it all over there, man.
Now we're going Rhett Lashley. Now they're at least Rhett Lashley. Yes. They were Mark Richt offense for years. Now we're Rhett Lashley going into Dawson. Oh, I can't wait for Duffy. Best Guinness in town.
There we go. 2 for 2. We got a sponsor and we get Steve in the building. Yeah. That's a double play right there. Shout out to Duffy. Shout out to Steve Kim. Steve, love you. Got to get you. Let us know when you're in town and we'll do this again, man. The most requested, Steve Kim.
All right. Talk to you guys soon. See you in a few days. Steve.
Appreciate you.
All right, man. Look at that.
I know Steve is. I believe I've gone over there with him before, so I know he's a connoisseur of the tavern.
Yeah, I'll be there at Duffy's probably on Saturday, assuming nothing crazy happens. Baseball, kids youth sports wise. I'll be out there at Duffy's on Saturday, man, watching all those games. If you this is the place to be. all the TVs. They take credit cards now, but it's an institution. Steve knows about it. Everybody knows about it, man. It is the spot for Miami Hurricanes football, for sports in general. It's college football. We play on Sunday, so you can watch college games all day. Do it at Duffy's Tavern. Also, I finally got my buzzing. I got crates of buzzing in my house. Like literally, like
you haven't said anything too crazy this morning.
Oh, and I don't need. Well, I'm just simply buzzing. I am chilling right now with social THC magic, fresh as air, fun as it gets. Best served chill. This is my watermelon juice. It is very, very flavorful. Sweetness, real fruit juice, no high fructose corn syrup, none of that. Obviously, zero alcohol, low calories, all the bubbles with no troubles. You know what I mean? I could drink this all day, go about my business. Plus, it's lab tested. Shout out to Buzzin. That's BUZZN. So you see it in your local kind of like liquor store places. I know they're all over South Florida right now. And then you could order it straight from drinkbuzzin.com, drinkbuzzn.com. I'm going to keep this going, Pete. You got anything going on in the next 20 minutes, man? I want to kind of keep this rolling. Got 2,000 people on.
I do. I have to get off because we also have interviews here at about 11. I have with the players post practice that I have to be on, and then I'm actually going to be going live this afternoon from LaMelo. So around 2:00, I'm going to be doing 2:30. Stay tuned for that. Gonna be over there live from LaMelo. So I will be back on later, guys. But I have some stuff I need to get to now before these player interviews.
All right, man. Well, listen, we'll see you at 2.